Oh, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is like the second time it's crashed today. Oh.
Thank you for calling Magic Online Technical Support.
Yeah, hi,
Your call is very important to us, and we want this to be as smooth an experience as playing Magic Online itself.
Yeah, I'm calling because the mocks haven't fired yet. I think the queue is...
Magic actually has two digital counterparts of equal importance, Magic Arena and Magic Online.
Yeah, the mocks are...
How can I assist you today?
The Magic Online Championships. You know, that really important tournament that we all feed into? It's meant to be really important. It's not firing. It's not going on. It's not happening.
Thank you for your concern. We are well aware of the problem and working hard to fix it. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
I don't think you answered my question. I think you just avoided it. Is it going to be fixed to, any time soon? Can I join them? Are you going to fix them today?
Oh, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, we are unable to repair this event. We are creating a new invite-only Mox makeup event to start at 8:40 Pacific time.
Right, okay. The main question is, are they going to be fixed today? Because I took today off work to play in these. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning here.
Players registered for the original event who don't play in the makeup event will be reimbursed. Thank you for calling Magic Online. Is there anything else I can do to assist you today?
Can you reimburse me for the time that I've spent queuing for these tournaments today, the time I've wasted?
Please remember that programs in public beta sometimes have bugs and downtime issues. It's important to be patient and understanding when encountering them.
Whoa, wait a minute. Did you just say that Magic the Gathering Online's still in beta?
If you drop before the draft starts, you will get your entry back.
The makeup event's already full. This isn't invite only. You've created another event, but anyone can join it, and now I can't get in. It's full.
Unfortunately, the makeup event has run into additional issues and will need to be canceled as well. We are reimbursing all affected players and creating a new event to begin at 9:30 Pacific time, after all reimbursements are granted.
Oh my god. Oh my days. Wait, so do I get reimbursed even though I didn't make it into the makeup event? How do you know I didn't make it into the makeup event? Have you got my details logged? When is the makeup event for the makeup event? When is the second? Was that a third event? Oh my god, I'm so lost.
We do apologize for the current state of the event, and we do appreciate your patience as we look further into the best way to proceed from here. Remember, Magic the Gathering Online has an important role, and it isn't going anywhere.
Look, buddy, I don't think the makeup event is firing either.
Look, I'm gonna level with you. We don't know what is wrong.
I'm sorry, what?
The makeup event just crashed. There is no one else in this office. I haven't seen my supervisor in months. My last 3 paychecks bounced. There's some kind of feral animals running around the hallways.
Oh man, I guess Magic Online really did die to Arena.
Magic Online dies to Magic Online. If I had $10, I'd create a Magic Arena account today.
Did no one tell you Arena signups are free? There's no $10 entry cost.
Son of a...
Hello and welcome back to another episode of what we call Dies to Removal, the professor over at Tolarian Community College's video podcast. I am the lovely co-host, the handsome co-host, Pleasant Kenobi, Vince, as I'm known in the real world.
What does that leave me then? If you're the handsome co-host, then what am I?
Dishevelled.
I'm wearing a tie, dude. I'm in a tie and a corduroy vest. My hair is combed.
I'm pointing to my merch. I'm wearing a Pleasant Kenobi merch t-shirt today.
Right. Okay. That's.
I feel sorry for the iTunes listeners who can't see it.
Is a t-shirt considered to be really formal attire in Britain?
Yes, we can't afford ties. After Brexit, we've got no supply of silk or similar materials coming in, so we're cutting back. I should make political jokes. People hate it. Brian, what have you been playing this week in terms of Magic? That is.
Well, I'm glad you asked. We're actually going to be starting a segment here where we just talk to each other about what we've been playing in Magic at the start of each podcast. And what I've been playing is actually Legacy. I've been wetting my toes once again into Legacy. I know that excites you, Vince.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Favorite format.
And what I did was I've been playing around with budget Delver lists. I was really interested in whether or not in Legacy there are some ways that we can take some of the more powerful, well-known decks and create playable versions where, in the case of Is It Delver, you're only using 2 colors, and so maybe the mana base can be downgraded enough where I can still play and have some chance at success with the deck. And I had a real good time testing it. I don't have any solid lists just yet, but what I'd been testing with was really fun, really interactive. Games went on long, much longer than Modern by far. And it was.
Can I ask what you stripped back then? Did you take a blue-red list and did you just remove fetches and dual lands? Is that where you went budget?
Well, actually what I did was I went into largely using basics and a few shocks, and what I put in main board were some blood moons, and the idea to justify having that many basics as well as the budget. And so with Is It Delver lists, if you look at the creature section in terms of cost, creatures are pennies. They're just a few dollars for all the creatures you need in Is It Delver. And then if you look at the spell section, the only cost is in Force of Will. And if you omit Force of Will, not that I did in the list, but if you omit Force of Will, then the cost of the spells that Is It Delver needs in Legacy is, again, just dollars. So Force of Will you have to have, absolutely. That's the one expense. But then I said, do we really need that expense in the mana base? Just going basics doesn't quite work, and so I wanted to justify leaning heavy into basics. Couple fetches still in there, a couple shocklands in there, but justifying that enormous amount of basics, relatively speaking, is mainboarding Blood Moons, because that literally just stops so many decks in Legacy, especially if you can slam it down on a turn 3. And
what I'd add to that is that I think there's a lot of decks in Legacy that you can actually port and make a lot port into the budget sphere and make a lot cheaper by just playing shocklands.
Yes.
There are some spells that are a little bit volatile to that. So Daze, for example, which is the other free counter spell that Delver plays, can backfire on you a little bit in the aggressive matchups because it burns you a bit more when you're bouncing shocklands and replaying them. But there's a lot of decks that can do that. There's also other ways to utilise basics, similar to what you said with Blood Moon. Like, back to basics prior to the Ultimate Masters reprinting was over $100, and now I think it sits somewhere like 15 or 20.
Yes.
So it might be even easier or cheaper to get hold of than Blood Moon in some places at the moment. And back to basics also really, really hurts a lot of Legacy decks. So yeah, you can even play into the fact that you're not playing those dual ones. Price of Progress is another one. That's a card that Blue Red Delver often plays. It does damage equal to 2 damage per non-basic that each player has. If you've just got a load of islands and mountains and 1 steam vents, and your opponent's got a load of soul lands or expensive fetches like bayous and underground seas, you're gonna burn them out with Price of Progress. So there's ways you can lean into that as well with certain decks. And I definitely advocate people trying it and going to their local Legacy games. Obviously, you don't want to enter a massive tournament with it, but if you've got local F&M, why not try shooting some Delver spells at people's faces off of basic lands?
Here's the other thing. Many local game stores will host with their Legacy events a certain number of proxies that are permitted.
Yes.
So I think, I don't know if this is a universal number, but I've been to a lot of game stores, and it's usually about, they'll say like 8 proxies per deck permitted, and if you can put a deck together that literally is the complete Legacy deck, but just without the dual lands and fetches, well, that's pretty much your mana base, is the proxies. You've got the deck, you just don't have the mana base. You proxy up the mana base, and then you have something to work towards. Maybe you trade towards that first dual land, you trade towards that first fetch land, and you'll get into Legacy, and you've got your deck for life. And I've been
There's so many Legacy
really
decks that only
loving it.
use between 4 and 6 very expensive lands. So if you've got that proxy allowance, then it makes it so easy to put almost any deck really in Legacy, to be fair. Force of Will is obviously the expensive parts as well, but
Sure.
just check with your local game store. But I would recommend it so much. I advocate proxies a lot for keeping the old formats alive, because once, we spoke about this a bit before we started recording, you said that compared to Modern, it's kind of refreshing because you said it's more interactive, right?
It is feeling a lot more interactive than Modern these days. I especially like that games were going really long on Legacy. Like a lot of times with Modern, if I'm just jamming some Modern games on Magic Online, I can just play a Modern game and it goes like this. It goes really fast. There's exceptions to that rule, of course, but when I was playing through the Legacy League, oh man, each game was like a game of chess. Did not have some of the old school shenanigans that I think many people have unfairly associated with Legacy in terms of like, oh, it's turn 1 and 8 spells are just going off left and right, and nothing like that did I encounter. And I really think that Legacy maybe is going to get a second life in the community eye as perhaps Modern buckles in on itself and also gets replaced, as we talked about, with the potential Arena postmodern format that we'll be hearing more and more about. I mean, at a certain point, how many non-rotating formats are you going to keep up decks in? It's very hard.
Yeah, certain
it's
ones will cannibalize other ones, right?
Yeah,
that's
so if Modern's going to get ditched by Wizards, then I'll just lean into the Legacy curve. What about you? What have you been playing?
We had the GP where I played a bit of Ultimate Masters, but I got home and I've just been drafting Ultimate Masters. I recorded some gameplay videos for the channel. I streamed twice playing Ultimate Masters. The draft format is so good.
Oh, do you have a YouTube channel?
Good.
I wasn't aware. You hadn't mentioned it in the last 10 seconds.
Pleasant Kenobi. But honestly, this draft format is just insane. It's akin to Cube, so all the cards are so good. Even the commons and the uncommons are so powerful that simply having a collection of good stuff in your deck won't get you there. You need to draft clearly into archetypes, much like you would in a cube. And the archetypes are almost so much fun. There's like blue-red spell slingers, there's red-black madness, there's blue-green madness, there is Reanimator, there's Boggles, there's an Auras deck. There's so many. And the thing is, at first I thought, maybe it's not going to be that good. Because
it's called Bogles. I know English isn't your native language, but it's called Bogles, not Boggles.
I thought you'd be better. I was not going to interrupt you. The spelling of fictional creatures, Brian, but never mind.
No, it's a real word. It's a real word, Vincent. Look it up in the dictionary.
What was I even saying?
I'm sorry. I made a promise not to interrupt, but then you can't even speak English.
What does Bogles mean, Brian? What does Bogle mean?
Bogle, if you look it up in the dictionary, means a small spirit or puck-like creature, like a brownie or a being like that. And boggle means to stupefy or confuse. They are two...
But also they look just like the 90s toy Boglins. If anyone in the put in the comments below if you remember Boglins. They look just like Boglins. And that's pronounced Boglin.
I'm going to guess only British people know what that is. I've never heard of it.
Oh, I thought it was an American thing. And
really?
A lot of Brits don't know what it is.
Yeah?
We'll find out. We'll find out.
Oh, okay.
What was I saying before you rudely interrupted? About
I don't know. All I could focus on was waiting for the opportunity to rudely interrupt you. Yes.
That's it. If I can interrupt you now. Because of the amount of expensive staples in the format, I just assumed that the format would be a mess and not very fun.
Right.
But that could not be further from the truth. There are certain cards that are almost useless. I mean, Back to Basics isn't very good, for example. But like Lava Claw Reaches, you don't want to open that when you're opening for value. But in a Phantom draft, it's really good. So Ultimate Masters drafts were finishing as of today. But because of their popularity, Wizards have, in their infinite wisdom, decided to push them out till, I think it's the 11th of January, and you can play them on Magic the Gathering Online, and you can't play them on Arena, which is interesting, because that gives Magic the Gathering Online a unique gameplay experience that you can't get elsewhere. But I cannot recommend it enough. It is so much fun if you enjoy drafting powerful formats like Cube, for example.
I recommend, instead of Magic Online, going into your local game store and drafting Ultimate Masters, because then you get to keep the cards. Now on Magic Online, you get to keep the digital cards, but
I didn't draft
on Magic Online.
I drafted Phantom.
Oh, okay. So then you just gave them money and walked away.
I did.
What a racket.
I went 2-1 or 3. Well, I went 2-1 mainly, so I got my money back. But the interesting point is that it's $25 to draft it non-Phantom Online, and online it's not really worth it because the cards don't hold anywhere near as much value. Only 6 cards are really hits that get you the draft back. But in paper, I'd recommend drafting it because I opened Liliana my first pack in paper.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. I went 3-0 with that deck.
Pretty
Liliana's quite good and limited, I've heard.
Oh, is she? Is she? Yes. You mentioned that it feels like a cube. I am in the process of making just my Ultimate Masters cube out of the card. I'm a big fan of doing set cubes. I have like my triple Innistrad cube. I have a conspiracy cube and a Lara cube, and I am so excited.
How often do you get to draft these?
Very seldom, because that requires friends coming to visit. And you
ever in
never you never come visit me, dude. Never.
Oh man, maybe this year. I'd love to do some Lara cube or some conspiracy cube at some point. I love cube.
It's a lot of fun because when you build them to simulate just packs, which is what I like to do. It's not like a power cube where it's singleton. When you're doing a set cube, you do multiple copies of commons and uncommons.
Support the archetypes, yeah.
Right. So then I actually break everything into packs, and so you literally, if you come to my house, please, and we draft, I literally hand you 3 packs that are engineered to be like 3 packs of Innistrad or 3 packs of, in this case, Ultimate Masters. And while it's not a perfect engineering, it's very close, and it also allows you to make tweaks, like you said. Back to basics is
that's my next question.
You take it out. If there's an archetype that needs a little bit more, you want to make sure there's enough spider spawning in that triple Innistrad. Add an extra copy floating around in there, because you get to fine tune that cube and that draft experience. So I'm very excited to be putting the Ultimate Masters cube together, and it should be a lot of fun.
And don't forget, Spider Spawning is also in Ultimate Masters. That's why it's so much fun. It's got so many good archetypes.
Right. It's almost like the set was Graveyard Masters.
100%. 100%.
Right. So we were making some jokes about Magic Online, but I think that it's no joking matter. I'm going to come right out and ask this question, Vince, and I want you to be completely honest with me. Does Magic the Gathering Online straight out die to Arena? Does Magic Online die to Arena? Is this the end of Magic Online?
I think on a long enough timescale, of course it does. I don't think the player base itself can necessarily support both. So the thing is, obviously, MTGO presents us with some very unique things it can do. Commander, Legacy, Vintage, Modern, and things like Cube and Ultimate Masters. The problem it has is that can the player base be supported, and can the economy be supported for as long as we want it to be if players aren't joining Magic the Gathering Online? Arena is obviously attracting the new players, and I think the number of players that will jump from Arena to Magic the Gathering Online to play those older formats is going to be less than the people who are just selling out and who stop playing. Wizards are making some, so we have to be positive here. I'm pointing out the truth that Wizards are making some concessions and trying to make Magic Online a bit more accessible. In their latest State of the Program announcement, they said that you wouldn't necessarily have to do the $10 buy-in that you used to have to do, so people can get the account and start playing around and mucking about with the free bots and stuff prior to that. But on the long enough timescale, I do believe that Magic the Gathering Online's lifetime is finite, and Arena is going to make that lifetime shorter.
I don't think that Arena is going to kill Magic Online, personally. I think Magic Online is going to kill Magic Online. I think that Magic Online is, while it was impressive software for the time with what it was able to do, and while Magic is a great game, and the fact that when everything was working, which it seldom was, but when everything was working, you really could sit down and play Magic the Gathering, albeit slowly and with a crude interface, that was still a great experience. But ultimately, this software looks like it's out of 1998. It looks like you're playing on Windows 3.1. Even when you say no bugs, which it has tons of bugs, no crashes, which it has tons of crashes, no ridiculous software requirements, I can't believe we still have a $10 buy-in to Magic Online. It's absurd.
It's just going. 2018, and it's just going.
Absurdity in all of these things. And yet, even when you put all that aside and you say, never mind those problems, just looking at Magic Online, it looks like it is out of another era, or perhaps 2 eras back. There is no way this software... Don't interrupt. That's very rude, Vince. No, I'm just kidding. Just because
I've got a point that really ties into that. I want to ask you. It's a hypothetical question. You said this in a tweet as well, that Magic Online will kill itself, essentially. It will die to itself, not to Arena. But of course, that kind of it hides the fact that both of the programs are obviously being run by the same company. So I ask you this question: would Wizards of the Coast ever dump the money and resources into renovating how Magic Online looks and its backwards interface as well? Because they haven't up until now.
You
right?
can't.
They haven't
It
up until
can't
now.
be it cannot be updated.
But it could with enough resources.
No,
it could with enough resources.
I actually don't believe. I want to link an article. I believe it was one of Saffron Olive's where he looked at the actual program code. If this is someone else's article, I apologize to thinking that Seth wrote it. He writes everything. But I will have the article linked in the description by the time this goes live. But it is an article that looks at the history of the code of Magic Online. And in reading that article, it is quite clear that there are limits to what can be done in an extreme sense, that even with enough money and resources, this is literally a company from 2 decades ago's original code that then got patched with another company's code on top of it that is not working together, that is beyond out of date, that basically the entire Magic Online department is spending every minute just trying to keep the whole thing from buckling in on itself.
But I mean, how big is that department realistically? How much money are they actually? I mean, Arena's obviously had all bells and whistles put onto it. It's had a lot of investment and time and energy put into it. And I get that obviously programming individual game items for 16,000 or whatever it is Magic cards that exist more than that, isn't it? How many Magic cards are there, Brian?
I don't know. Ask Professor Google. Ask Professor Google.
I thought you were a sage of all magical knowledge, Brian.
I never no, I'm a professor at a community college.
Oh.
If I were a sage with all magical knowledge, I would not be working as an adjunct at a community college. But I think
that's the point. How big is that department? How big are the bug swatting team and the developers that work on Magic Online? I mean, that's a hypothetical. We don't know.
I don't know. I don't even know if that information's public.
I just exactly, and I don't think they'd ever make it public because it'll be. I imagine it'll be quite laughable. That's the kind of the point I'm getting to. I've always felt that Magic Online's been. They've allowed it to generate loads of money and put minimal effort into actually making it functional. Just about minimum. The amount of bugs they get. I mean, Crackling Doom was bugged for like 2 years, for example. And that's a card in standard. And now that Arena's here, I can't help but think perhaps, especially when you look at the Twitter bios of some of these people who are moving across to Arena, I'm not blaming any of the people involved with the programs, obviously, make that very clear. But I think Wizards just aren't invested in keeping Magic Online alive. So I don't think it's not Magic Online that's going to kill Magic Online. It's the lack of willingness to keep the platform alive from a Watson
Why would
perspective.
they keep it going? Why would you keep a program? Why would you want that associated with you? It's like, listen, let me put it this way, Vince. Let's say that before you started making Magic the Gathering videos years ago, decade ago even, you uploaded a few silly, stupid videos to your channel, and they are and they are not representative of the work that you currently do. And if somebody were to scroll back on your video list,
those exist, Brian. Don't draw attention
really?
to them. Yeah.
I was going to say that, like a sensible person, you would probably delete those so that people don't see them and think that's indicative of the quality of work that you put forward. I don't know why Wizards of the Coast would want Magic Online, any footage of Magic Online in any capacity, to ever be associated with them. It's a joke. How are you going to be an esports contender? I had an idea for a parody video where I wanted to take that new commercial they did with the "They Will Know" and the rocking music and everything and the cool beat, and just superimpose it over footage of playing Magic Online and just how ridiculous that looks. It needs to go. I would pull the plug if I were them.
So
and I think the only reason they haven't is lawsuits.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of people invested into it at the moment. There's an entire economy based around it with multiple companies all involved with it.
Yeah. And
it's quite sad. So for those that don't know who are watching this, who aren't as invested in Magic Online, people have been paying paper and are probably sick of this topic already. But Magic Online's entire economy, the whole value of the economy, basically halved a few weeks ago. It just dropped and dropped because people are starting to panic because of the esports announcement and because of Arena doing quite well and so on and so forth. And that then starts to affect the bottom line of certain companies that are invested in Magic Online. It makes people like myself feel sad. It makes videos for Magic Online. And the worst of all, beyond the money aspect, is that things like Legacy and definitely Vintage, like Vintage won't exist. Once Magic Online goes, at whatever point that is, Vintage will exist as one side event at each GP.
Yeah.
12 times a year. And even then, people will probably stop bothering. So my question to you is, can we realistically keep... If WotC stop supporting Modern, as you mentioned earlier, can we keep it alive? can we keep Legacy alive? What happens to Pauper? I mean, we haven't got a Pauper GP yet. I mean, that's not going to happen, right?
Modern and Pauper don't use reserve list cards, but...
Sure, so they got that going for them, but Wizards have never really, up until very recent, up until a certain individual tried to promote it, Wizards have never been fond of Pauper, have they?
They're a little more fond of it now that they're fond of money. Listen, this is the thing. Wizards of the Coast is
Pauper makes them no money.
Pauper can make them money. I've made that argument before. There's ways to make money off of these things, but Wizards is a fan of money. Modern will continue in that people can play Modern. Modern will continue in that Wizards just made a Modern product, Ultimate Masters, that for all our screaming about the MSRP, it sold like hotcakes. They made their money. Their raising that MSRP might have infuriated us in the fan base, but we still bought it, and they still made their money. And when they're going to look at their earnings reports, and Hasbro's going to look at their earnings reports, they're not going to say, don't do that again. Don't support this format that made us millions upon millions of dollars, which it did. Far more so than perhaps even, I would love to see what made more money for Wizards of the Coast, Ultimate Masters or Guilds of Ravnica, because I'm willing to bet Ultimate Masters made more, and so that is why I'm not scared for Modern necessarily, and it's popular and people are playing it. The problem with Legacy and Vintage is the reserve list. The thing with Magic Online is that there is no reserve list, and that's how these are able to keep going. I think that the fact that Magic Online is I feel dying and going to be dead, I don't think that has anything to do with Legacy and Vintage, because I think there's money there. There's money in selling packs with dual lands in them. They can't do it in paper. They won't do it in paper, but they can do it on Magic Arena, or they can do it on a Magic Arena-like client. Now, let me ask you this. I want to propose something to you. You tell me what you think. They created Magic Arena, and then they started programming cards into it. This is all on software somewhere. I'm going to be incredibly non-technical, but let's pretend they hit copy and paste on Magic Arena on their mainframe, and they copied it and pasted it onto another mainframe, so there were two Magic Arenas. And on the second one, they started programming in Ultimate Masters, Vintage Masters, the reserve list cards, things like that. And there was, instead of Magic Online and Magic Arena and Magic Vintage, they call it. Vintage Magic, and it looks like Arena. It has Vintage cards on it. It has Legacy cards on it. They're all on there, and you can play in that. People would play that. People wouldn't be leaving that. People are leaving Magic Online because it looks dead in the water. They're not leaving it because of Legacy, and they're not leaving it because of Vintage. If anything, they're only barely hanging on to it because of those formats.
Exactly. Those formats at the moment almost are going to prop up Magic Online for some period of time until the player base dwindles to the point that it can't be supported anymore. Like, Legacy and Vintage and Magic and Modern will kind of be the life support for Magic Online. And I guess also, like you said, they can sell Ultimate Masters drafts to fools like me who like to Phantom Draft. So those things will pop it up. But no, the idea that they might do like almost a different format with older cards programmed in that doesn't affect Standard on a different client, that's Arena 2 or not Arena 2, obviously it's not a second product, but a Vintage variant. That sounds incredibly exciting almost.
Right.
You should work at Wizards, Brian. That'd be fantastic. And if you get that forward,
they most certainly do not want me working at Wizards, I assure you.
But also, so in that hypothetical, where I think that sounds exciting, but I love playing any variant of Magic you can give me. If you give me Tiny Leaders or Brawl or Singleton, I'll play them all because I just love playing different versions of Magic. But that still has the cannibalism element that I think what you're aware of is that if you had a second version of Vintage Magic, people will be on separate clients and it'll dilute the waters in some ways.
Well,
do you think there's perhaps an idea that
they need one client?
I think one client would be great, but do you not think that sometimes they want to perhaps, again, I'm also a conspiracy theorist when I hang out with you, Brian, it's all your fault, but perhaps they want to promote limited and standard and perhaps a non-rotating format, and then that's it. They got their finite pool of things they can control and sell to.
They wish. I'm sure they've had
Pauper
that meeting.
And Legacy hurt that, don't they?
They wish. They've had that meeting. They've had that meeting multiple times. The truth of the matter is that as much as they wish that, it would be business suicide to do it, because the problematic aspects of the long history of Magic the Gathering and its eternal formats are in many ways what keeps it going. There is a connection between reserve list cards like Mox Opal being worth thousands and people cracking packs of Guilds of Ravnica hoping to capture that same thing, even though that is not going to happen. There is this idea. If they reprinted reserve list cards into Oblivion, there would be a lot less of the collector aspect of Magic the Gathering, and that fuels a good aspect of this game.
I've always seen the reserve list as kind of like the gold standard, although England got rid of the gold standard at some point in the past.
Right.
But the gold standard is this idea that the money you have in your hand is worth a certain amount of gold in the bank.
Right.
So knowing how much gold you've got in the bank means that your money has a tangible value, and it can't just depreciate overnight unless that gold disappears. And the reserve list kind of performs like that. It makes people feel that their collections won't go down the toilet the next day. So the reserve list has a function in some ways that does support the game, like you said. It allows people to chase the dream or trade up.
Well, I think it's just the allure. I don't think, because most people don't even have reserve list cards, but it creates that allure. Everyone talks about that there's cards worth $10,000 out there, and that's because of the reserve list.
So there's traders and companies that obviously prop up the game and keep the economy the way it is. You do have money invested in reserve list cards. I think I am, before we're not going into that too much, obviously, I am quite anti-reserve list, but I do think it provides a function in propping up the economy of Magic, and the economy of Magic have to be like quite redefined and changed and approached in a different way by players and traders and sellers and collectors if the reserve list were to go. So I think it does perform a function in some way. Whether or not that function is worth it is another discussion, I guess.
That is another discussion, and I just want to emphasize, going back to this discussion, that there is no reserve list on Magic Arena. And
to clarify that point for people at home, dual lands are worth at most $6, $7, $8 for Volcanic Island, compared to their $400 or $450 price tag in paper. That's how low they are if people don't play on Magic Online, because they can reprint them on a regular basis.
And before everyone freaks out in the comments, Vince is talking in pounds, as a largely American audience is probably watching, and are saying, what? $400? 400 pounds, which is worth a little bit more than the dollar right now. So
of course.
That's your translation. We wish
I said
we
dollars.
They were
I said dollars.
You said dollars, so I thought you were talking in pounds. They're worth more than that now, right? What's a volcanic island is going for more than $400.
I'm just going to check.
Yeah, but there is no, like, everybody who says, I've been hearing a lot of comments, and they're saying that Legacy is going to die because Magic Online is going to die, and I just want to add, there is no reserve list on Arena. Legacy can exist on Arena or on an Arena-like client if they want to have a second client. I think they should just have one, but if they do, either way. Magic Online dying is not going to kill Legacy. Wizards doesn't want Legacy to die because Legacy can earn them money digitally. It can't earn them money in paper because of the reserve list, but it can earn them money digitally, selling products like Ultimate Masters, Vintage Masters, having Legacy Mythic tournaments and such on a digital client can make them a fortune, and they're not going to walk away. They're not going to walk away from that money.
Sure, and I agree with that. And they do want to reprint old staples that people want to buy and things. But and I hate to say this out loud, but I do believe that Legacy will genuinely struggle once there's no online component to it, because tournaments will be few and far between. We're looking at, in England especially, for example, I was chatting to a big tournament organizer who's saying that his Legacy numbers are already down, and he's not sure if that's because of Arena or the fears around Legacy getting less support over time. I don't want it to go. I love the format. And even if Wizards want to still sell us some Leovolds and some True Name Nemesises, True Name Nemesi, I don't know if the format can live in a healthy way, like I believe it does now, if there's no online metagame or community.
Well, the reserve list is what needs to go. Everybody, it's the most amazing thing. Everybody agrees, even Mark Rosewater. I mean, seriously, Mark Rosewater has fought and screamed and kicked he wants the reserve list gone, and he cannot achieve that. And so, literally, players, I've never heard a collector say that because they know that their alpha duels are still going to be worth a fortune. It will not affect the price, but we're getting
Compare
into
the price for
we'll
Birds of
talk
Paradise
reserve list in another episode. I don't want to get off topic, but that is what Legacy needs. But perhaps.
Oh, and for the record, Volks are $450. You can get a revised Volk heavily played for around $450 to $500.
No. Near mint. I don't want heavily played. I want it.
No, you want near mint alpha.
No. I want near mint revised. White border. I'm white border, baby. White border.
No, I'm all about get as heavily played as you can and just play the format. The format's so good.
I want to recapture my high school days. I want that white border.
Oh, did you replay?
Mint.
Did you play with them in no sleep?
I actually had penny sleeves on them even in high school. My cards were minty mint, baby. I kept my cards in good shape back then. Speaking, though, of Magic Arena, we have had our first big push just a day ago for us as we're recording this with the Twitch Rivals event, which is the shape of the face of things to come, Magic Arena and esports. We had our major announcement about Arena esports. We've had our first big event and bigger ones coming. We've been getting an outline of what competitive play is going to look like. What do you think just right off the bat in terms of everything that we're seeing so far, Vince, before we get into the nitty gritty?
So,
what is your reaction? Is it cynical? Is it optimistic? Is it excited?
No, so it's a weird thing. I'm super hyped with an element of doom and gloom. Essentially, I'm so hyped that Magic is going through like a renaissance. We're going to have loads of people watching it. They're getting everyone involved with it. Artifact apparently bombed. The other digital card game's supposed to be really good. So they've all come across to play Arena. Hearthstone's metagame is bad, so everyone's playing Arena. Standard's good. I'm so hyped about all this, but it's that faint underhand of... at the moment, we don't even know what's going to happen with... we've got more announcements coming in January telling us how Mythic... the terminology confuses me now.
Yes,
GPs
me too.
that are now Magic Fests, or the GP at a Magic Fest, how that feeds into Mythic tournaments. And I wish they'd stop labeling everything Mythic. There's my rant.
Right.
Mythic Edition, Mythic tier on Arena, Mythic tournaments. Everything's called Mythic, but that's still not announced. There's a lot of unknown information as to whether GPs are even worth like grinding for the grinders now. So I'm excited. But I'm waiting with bated breath to see the final bits of announcements in January before I can breathe a sigh of relief and see that Magic is coming into its second age, or third age.
What do you think about the fact that we now have more so than ever the ability to qualify for competitive events, play in competitive events digitally from your own home? Because I know this is big in Europe. Issues of not having GPs locally, not having enough GPs locally. It's not like it is in the States where, there's just every weekend there's a GP that many people can just hop in a car and drive down to. I know it's even worse in places like Australia. And now competitive Australian players, competitive players in South Africa and other areas that have just struggled to have a GP now can qualify for these tournaments via just playing Magic Arena.
There's huge upside, there's huge downside, right? More players have access to qualification, but at the same time we're removing the social aspect of playing Magic opposite a human being. I guess that's a downside to Arena in a lot of ways.
Are we removing it? This is somebody I know like Australia, Brazil, lots of places, they get 1 GP, 2 GPs, 3 GPs, and that's it.
And
we
now
haven't
it turns
removed
out,
anything.
We
just
have.
Opening options. We have?
So,
how have we?
So GPs at the moment, we're not sure who qualifies and at what point.
Oh, yes.
It could be that we might have 1 person or 4 or 8, we don't know yet, will qualify upwards.
Right.
If it's just 1 or like 2 or 3, we're in a really weird position where it's probably, a lot of grinders will probably just give up grinding and probably go to grinding on Arena. I guess grinders aren't the one going for social interaction, right? So
right.
I know what you mean.
Grinding also was a miserable experience. No grinder spoke happily of it.
Of course,
the
but to
whole
make it
GP grind was horrific.
Exactly. So for them to make it even more difficult, I guess maybe shooting in the back of the head is the correct thing to do. Is that how do you feel? Maybe that's a controversial subject to say as well. But I know what you mean. Giving options, especially to those people in the more inverted commas isolated parts of the world in terms of Magic, is great. But I'm still just waiting with bated breath that they haven't turned GPs into just a glorified convention that no one wants to play anymore because you can't qualify, That's the bit I'm scared about.
People who, through no fault of their own, live in what we call isolated areas, such as
Isolated, exactly.
such as everywhere outside of the United States. Now, there are some people who live outside of the United States, and
like
for
me.
them, well, oh, really? You too? Wow, how do you live? How do you survive? Like, wow.
Well,
No, I mean,
the socialized healthcare is pretty good. I mean, that's one thing.
I'll trade you frequent GPs and lower per pack cost of Magic cards for that. I'll trade you any day of the week. But yeah,
I'll keep this.
I feel like this has always been my expression. More isn't less. More is more. I feel like more is being offered. Yes, rules are being changed. Qualification things are being changed. We are moving forward, and that is frightening. It does feel like there is less emphasis in some ways on the traditional tournaments. We don't know that that's the case. The dust hasn't settled. So far, what we do know is the case is there are new options, not reduced options, but more options. And I always feel more is more. And even if they do come in a week or a month or 3 months and say, here's clarification on this, and there is less in terms of, say, what you can accomplish at a GP or Magic Fest or what have you, that is not tied to the more that we were given. It's not an either or thing. We simply then need to say, no, give us back what you took away and maintain what you gave us with digital access. More is more. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And in some ways that goes back to what I meant with Magic Online. Arena, it's not like, well, I wish they hadn't made Arena because that's going to kill Legacy. Arena.
That was not my words.
I know. But some people are saying that. Some people are upset. Some people are afraid that that is what that means. And I just feel that these are two separate things where the issue is simply that people could not get to GPs easily and frequently enough, and now anybody with an internet connection has an ability to play competitively. I think that's fantastic.
I am more than excited. Like I said, like the idea that this is a renaissance or renaissance, depending on how you're going to pick up my pronunciation of the word, for Magic and tournament play, and to allow more people to try and qualify through non-traditional means, shall we say, which would be the traditional means in 5 years' time, is fantastic. And just seeing so many people watching Magic yesterday, I mean, I streamed against it and my viewer numbers were down, but I didn't care because people were watching people play Magic, and it was great. And it was a big old tournament.
35,000 people watching Magic on, at least by American time zone, a lazy Tuesday afternoon. A lazy Tuesday afternoon, 35,000 people watching Magic on Twitch. That's good for everyone. Exactly.
Trickle-down effect and everything. But the only shadow on the horizon is whether or not they are going to screw up GPs from my perspective. But again, they could just come out with saying, actually, no, qualification's kind of similar, and it could all go rosy. That's the only bit I'm wary of. So I just want to clarify that I'm not being too doom and gloom. I'm just apprehensive, and I'm waiting with bated breath to see that Wizards don't mess it up. Because if Wizards come out and say, actually, you can qualify in a top 8, top 16 or whatever, then we're all good, right? We're all gravy. And we're in a situation where there's more prize money, there's pros getting salaries, we've got more ways to qualify, and then we'll be in a good position. And in some ways, I'm kind of scared because we hardly ever get that in Magic, right? There's always something for us to moan about on this podcast.
Well, don't worry, because I want to end your positivity right now. Let's. This is terrible. This is bad podcasting. You're saying all these nice, optimistic things. We got to get negative. If we're talking competitive play on Magic Arena, let's talk about one of the dark horses that has got people frustrated, which is best of 1 versus best of 3. What do you think of this? So right now, I mean, break this down for us. What is the
So at the moment, there are 2 forms of play on Arena for drafting and for limited and for normal gameplay. There's traditional, which is best of 3, and there is ranked. Traditional and ranked aren't the same thing, don't connect. Traditional is best of 3 with sideboarding, so if you draft a deck and you take a plummet, it's either in traditional, you can have it in your sideboard, but if you're playing a ranked draft, where your rank goes up towards the end of the season, which might even eventually help you qualify, we don't really know exactly how that could work yet, your plummet has to be main board or not. So it's this bizarre circumstance where I'm playing Ritual of Soot main board in a deck where I'm playing 2-drop and 3-drop creatures because this best of 1 is the rank ladder in standard as well, and it removes a lot of nuance from Magic. Some formats, as I was reading a Channel Fireball article that talked about this actually. Some formats, and I agree with them, definitely benefit from having best of one. Like Singleton is great because you have to put all your eggs in one basket and build a deck that fights against someone else's basket full of eggs, if we carry the analogy over to
and
the
I
actual
love
combat
Singleton,
itself.
by the way.
Yeah, Singleton is great. Apart from Rat Colony, Singleton is great. So that's another topic, I guess. So some formats it's great for, and grinding your quests, brilliant. A quick pickup game, brilliant. The weird sort of streamer unique events like the Noxious Cascade thing, brilliant. But when it comes to actual tournament Magic, especially as we get into the situation where we're going to have a standard plus or a postmodern format where linear decks will come up, things like Affinity will start to rise, things that need linear sideboard hate cards and things to moving parts like that, we can't rely on best of one. And the thing that's annoying at the moment for those that don't know, that the development team behind the game have claimed, I think it was in a forum post, that best of one is more popular by, like a 90% margin. But the reason it's more popular is because it's currently the ranked format.
Yes.
The best of three is currently hidden behind a switch, and people are grinding their daily quests.
No, that is such
information
Wizards of the
that
Coast.
you can use.
That really ticks me off. That is such Wizards of the Coast reasoning.
My last point before I hand over to you.
More people, that's like me saying,
exactly.
Hey, people want to play Pauper. You don't support it. Why don't you support it? And they go, well, according to our numbers, more people draft than play Pauper. It's like, well, you don't have Pauper
and this
events.
This is why I'm apprehensive about the whole announcement in January, because I'm scared they're going to turn around going, oh, no one wants to qualify from GPs anyway, so we cut it down to one qualification per region
exactly
or whatever.
How they operate,
and they'll spin it to be something that we've apparently said or done, which is not necessarily the case, and then claim it's a vocal minority. But that said, that's some doom and gloom there. That said, when prize support was reduced on Arena by about 90%, people were in uproar on Reddit and Twitter and all over the shop, and the Arena developers turned around and went, you know what, we've listened to you, that's not right, we're going to put it back up.
All right, but you're getting positive there. I want to focus on this. Now, I want you to be honest with me. Is the reason why the team over at Arena wants best of one versus best of three because deep down inside, they believe the dum-dums can't handle sideboarding?
No.
And I'm just, by the way, before everyone takes to Twitter, I'm joking, but the idea, I'm absolutely joking and saying the dum-dums, but like the idea being that your casual player, your person coming over from Hearthstone, just can't handle sideboarding and is just going to need play, done, best of play, done, and that they just want you clicking and not thinking, and that's the opposite of what Magic is. You don't think that secretly they're like, look, guys, we got to dumb this game down a little bit for all these Hearthstone players?
I mean, I do believe that Magic itself, not dumbed down, but it gets simplified. So I don't. Here's a tangent that's relevant to this.
How is simplified different than dumbed down?
Okay, you know the Planeswalker damage changes that happened recently?
Yes.
Yeah? That effect nerfed a legacy deck. Without removing cards from the deck, it nerfed Mono Red Prison, because both the Chandra, Torch of Defiance, and Fiery Conflagrate can no longer kill walkers, all because of a rule to simplify things for newer players. The Blood Moon change, you know about that one as well?
Disagree. I disagree with all that stuff. I hated all of that stuff.
That came in. So that deck has been nerfed by rules changes.
Right. I know. I hate that. It's the worst.
So that is part of Magic, but I don't think that's necessarily what they're doing with Arena and sideboarding. Sideboarding encourages the use of more wildcards and thus more packs to be opened. And the economy is still really bad. If we want to not get too positive, I still think the economy is really bad. If you aren't playing Limited, you aren't picking up enough cards.
Right.
It's just simple as that.
And I don't play Limited, I play Constructed. My wife is now addicted to Arena, and the night she sat down, I said to her, what type of deck do you want to play? Let's build it together. And we were building it, and I did not have the cards for the deck, and I was like, well, let me show you how wild cards work, and I ran out of wild cards before I was even 1/4 of the way through what is absurd, quite frankly a casual deck. And what threw me was that I'm used to, I'm going to pull out my boxes here from what I have from pre-release and what have you, and the sort of deck that we're building for just casual play, I don't need, like 12 mythics in that and planeswalkers in that deck. And so it's like, yeah, no problem, 4 of this common, 4 of this uncommon. And I ran out, and some jank rares and stuff. And I ran out so fast, and then I was like, honey, I don't have the deck. And then she said, well, how do you get it?
She started to cry.
No,
and then
well, she started to say some things about Wizard's Greed when I explained that having used up all my daily quests, the only way to get it would be to just spend money on gems, buy packs, and just start opening those packs. And so that is what we went into, and the economy
Which in
is
some
bad.
ways sounds a lot like Magic in the ideal wizard sense, right?
Oh, sure.
I mean, the players, I've gotten used to borrowing, trading, renting, or just buying the cards that I need.
Yes.
But Arena removes that whole middleman, which is kind of, again, is another topic, but it's something that I do think myself, and especially community pillars like yourself, Brian, need to highlight, is that the economy does need to be improved somewhat.
I've talked
or at least
about
the
that.
wild card issue. I know you have,
Yes.
but we need to keep talking about it until we're in a situation where we're like, okay, that's fair enough. I know we have to spend money because Wizards need to make money. I'm totally okay with that. But the fact that rare wild cards are less rare than mythic wild cards, so I end up with just loads of mythic wild cards because the best cards in the format are rares, stuff like that. It's just absurd.
Yes,
it's just absurd.
Okay, so one more thing I want to say on this is the big Twitch Rivals event that happened. I caught it, you caught it. We referenced it having 35,000 plus viewers on a Tuesday afternoon. How do you think this event went? What is your response? Never mind. I mean, we said we're excited it happened. We said we're excited about the numbers, but just in isolation of that, just as a tournament, as an event, this was Arena's big moment. How did it go? What did you think?
So I streamed alongside a part of it, watched
Right.
one of the quarterfinals, and then had to go to bed because at English time it was very late.
Right.
I thought the quality of the production was really good. That's probably just a big nod to Twitch. The commentators they got on, was it Matthias, who's normally does
Matthias
CG?
was on. He was one of them. They had a gentleman on there I wasn't familiar with previously.
The Asian Avenger,
No,
Krim
I know him.
from
I
MTG
know him.
Goldfish. I'm saying some of the guys they got on were really, really good. They were high
he was
energy. So the commentary, the production, everything was really good.
Yeah.
Also, the showing both streams on screen at once. It just went to show that, because people often mock WotC for not getting the production value on live streams and GPs and things done well. That goes to show that Arena plus someone who knows what they're doing results in a very nice looking production. The interesting bit that I wanted to talk about was there was a problem with Caleb Durwald. Caleb Durwald didn't win.
Right.
But then he won.
Explain. Oh, right. Now, to someone who maybe missed the event, can you explain to them how this strange occurrence occurred? What happened? This is interesting.
So what happened? I didn't see it live because I couldn't. I was actually sleeping at the time. But from the bit of the VOD and the Twitter discussion around it afterwards, Caleb had tweeted out saying he'd lost in the finals, and then it turned out that Rage unfortunately had missed sideboarded and therefore was given a game loss under the current Magic rules. Now the interesting thing is game losses and missed sideboarding happens. We're all human. I've done it at tournaments. Loads of people have done it. It gets caught and then the judges deal with it. The interesting thing is that something like Arena should probably deal with this in the first place, so this sort of stuff couldn't happen. A lot of the comments on Twitter were just people going, what, how? Because at the moment, there's no way to challenge someone directly to play best of 3. Because best of 3 isn't a focus, it's best of 1. So you have to re-challenge each time with the sideboards changed between the 3 games. So I guess what we can learn from it is that Arena's in beta and things will improve. But
this
at the same
is one
time,
of those things that reminds me of in our first episode discussing the fact that they left multiplayer out, and you just go, why? It's the same thing. Like the direct challenge was the number one thing people wanted. It obviously is necessary for events like this, and that it never occurred to any of these brilliant people.
Exactly.
Do best of 3, keep the sideboard
Here's my counter argument. Direct challenge shouldn't be needed for these events. There should be a tournament mode built in, like there is with Street Fighter or with Super Smash Brothers. If, like you said, these brilliant bigwigs had all gone, here's our esports journey, here's our esports game plan, here's our objectives, Arena is part of that, design team, here's your notes. At some point they should have went, we need a tournament mode to hold tournaments.
Right. Not only that, but then they could allow individuals and organizations to hold their own tournaments, which is more advertising. Can you imagine then if Card Kingdom or Star City Games wants to then hold its own arena tournament, or even an individual. Like maybe I wanted to hold a Tolarian Community College tournament.
It was something I thought of when I was watching how good that Twitch stream was. I thought, how good would it be if you, Loading Ready Run, Goldfish, or someone held a tournament in that style and got everyone in, you know? But
I
you're completely right.
And so right, so the very first outing, and so I mean, obviously we're rooting for Caleb because he's our guy. He's you know, it's homegrown hero, right? Caleb D is one of the biggest MTG streamers currently. He's if not the biggest, right? I mean, he's he's definitely in the top.
He's up there with Kenji and things, isn't he?
Right. He's a fantastic guy, really personable, great stream. If you've somehow never checked him out, go check him out. So obviously we're rooting for him. And then it's just like, okay, he makes it to the end. Yeah. And then it's like, he didn't quite get there. And then for him to get there, but through this technicality of the arena program, and it's just I gotta admit, it's like flashes of Magic Online where they're like, well, software, you know, malfunction essentially, or software limitation, and it's just like, oh my god, Wizards of the Coast Digital, come on. I guess
it also smells of like, so I've been for the last year, not overtly in my videos at least, but we've been talking to friends that I believe, and I've been saying this for ages now, that we need to promote narratives of, like you said, the homegrown hero getting to the top and getting there, or stuff like that. And if our narrative is homegrown hero gets to the top and doesn't get there, but then gets down technicality because our software is bad, that is the worst possible narrative to have when you just made an esports announcement.
Yes.
So, but like I said, we can forgive them because it's in beta, but at the same time, they probably should have been pre-prepared for this already. I mean, they are a multi-million-dollar company backing all this. I mean,
it just seems like it's not even a problem with the software; it's a problem with the people who made the software didn't think it through. And that's, to me, I mean,
but again, I wouldn't slut the designers, would I? I would say it may not have even been part of the design prompt, for all we know. It could have never even been a consideration. Same thing that you said about
I don't care whose fault it is. I just, I think that this is a bad habit we have in Magic, is we start to say, oh wait, well, it isn't this department's fault. Like go easy. At the end of the day, it's what happened.
I just play Wizards a lot, yeah.
But I just feel like, and I'm very proud of the fact that in my very first video on Arena, when I just played the early alpha, I declared that it's never going to be a problem with the software. The software I'm sold on. The problem is in what we choose to do with the software, or not do, or forget to do. And I'm already being proven right on that.
Yeah, the implementation,
but that's good.
of course.
And that's the one good thing to take away from this, is it's not that the Arena software buckled. It's not that the Arena software bugged or glitched. It's that they didn't think it through, and they didn't program it properly, and they will program it right. And unlike Magic Online, where there literally are limitations where you say to them, why don't you have this? And they say, honest to God, the software can't handle it. In Arena, no problem. And going back to our first episode, why don't they have multiplayer? They can put it in. It just isn't in. So that's the great thing, is that this software is golden, it is glorious, and all we need is the willpower of the people behind the scenes to properly put it together. But yeah.
I guess it's quite poetic that a human error, which can happen in paper Magic, 100%, yes. A human error illustrates perhaps another human error behind the scenes. So poetic in a sense.
It is. And it is also definitely funny to see that even now we are still seeing, game losses through somebody sideboarding wrong or something dumb like that. Like, it's not even cheating. It's just like, oh God, like we've all seen those cases. Yeah. Some player forgot to de-sideboard one card and it was definitely not intentional, but it just sucks. And there you go. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. And with that, I think we're going to say that this is been another episode of Dies to Removal. Vince, if people want to find your YouTube channel, where is it? What do you do? Or Twitch? Where should people go? Tell me right now, sell me, first of all, do I go check you out on Twitch first? Or if I've never seen your content?
No, it's YouTube. It's YouTube 100%.
It's YouTube 100%.
Like, Twitch is fun. Twitch is fun. We hang out and we're friends and stuff.
I'm going to give you one video. Pretend I've never seen any of your work. I'm going to give you one chance. What video do I go watch to give you that one chance? I'll link it in this description. I'm going to give you one chance, and then I'm never going to watch your channel if I don't like you. Unless I like you. So what one video?
You should watch Mono Blue Minotaurs.
Mono Blue Minotaurs. All right.
It's a... do you want a synopsis? A brief one-liner?
Yeah. Yes.
It's a budget version of Show and Tell and Legacy. But instead of using Sneak and Show as the other way to get things in, we Show and Tell, of course. We play Didgeridoo, which is a card that puts Minotaurs into play. But we changed the word Minotaur on the card using 2 other spells that I won't go into details about now to say either Eldrazi or Demon. And then we just make giant Minotaur Emrakuls or Minotaur Grizzlebrands and kill people.
You're
and
a
you
madman.
get turn 1 kills. And it's one of my magnum opus. It's one of my favourite
Yes.
videos I've ever made. People love it. Go watch it. It got copyright claimed because I was not enough to use I think it's 7 seconds of a copyrighted song. Slap on the wrist, Vince. Slap on the wrist. So I'm not making any money out of it. But go watch it anyway because I'm really proud of it.
All right. I will link that in this video's description. I hope everyone will go check that video out. Thank you for tuning in this week. If you want to just hear the audio version of this podcast, we are up on iTunes. We are up on Stitcher. We are up on everywhere. That is also linked in the description. And if any of you are listening to the audio version, be sure to come watch us on YouTube so you can see our handsome faces, or at least Vince's.
Handsome co-host.
See Vince's handsome face.
Playmats, Brian. Don't
Yes,
forget
we
playmats.
have dice removal playmats in the Tolarian student store. Did yours arrive yet? I sent you one. No. Slow post. When it does, we'll have you show it off. I don't have one.
I'll play it on camera.
All right. Until next week.
Goodbye.